Alright guys, in this video we are going to be covering lines. Lines are the foundation to any good drawing. If you can produce good lines, you can produce an excellent drawing. So let's go through what lines we need to practice and understand why we need to practice those lines. Okay, so I've done a lot of personal studying on my own, watch a lot of videos, and what I realize is that they don't show the references for how to use that, so it makes practicing boring. But to your right, I have an original piece, which is Miles Morales from the movie Into the Spider-Verse. That was an awesome movie. I am going to put the lines down to show you what lines you need to practice and how and where they are applied, so that your brain understands, okay, this is the application. Okay, so on a daily basis you should be practicing or warming up before each drawing that you're gonna make into something possibly serious or like a use case. So first things on the board will be your straight lines in varying direction, diagonally, horizontally, vertically, in any direction that you need it to be. These are great for creating hatching as well and giving a sense of direction. And the faster you can produce these lines in terms of movement or like firmness in your hand, the more confident that your shapes will be when you're ready to use these lines in combination with each other. As a matter of fact, I would just like you to make a mental note that your lines, your confidence of your lines is what create the confidence in your overall drawing. So if you have good lines, you more than likely will have good shapes, and then those good shapes would translate to good 3D objects with dimension, and those objects with dimension would then have meaning. So by combining these shapes that actually start out with lines, you're then giving meaning to your drawing. In this case, we can say that we have a little robot here, but let's not move too fast. Okay, let me just erase this a second and go right back to the basics, which is the lines that we need to know. Okay, so you got your straight lines, then you got your wavy lines. Remember to practice these in different directions, so across, downward, diagonally. These lines will always appear in every drawing. They might be close together or they might be stretched out like that, but you definitely need to practice your wavy lines. Sometimes it's a combination of a straight line and a wavy line, but you just have to watch to see where the combination of these lines take place. All right, then you have your zigzag lines, and next up you have your C shapes, which are perfect for building scales or creating texture. C shapes are very similar to U shapes. I think they're the same thing, it's just a matter of switching the direction to create the texture. A good habit that I have developed is that randomly, even if like I'm not drawing anything serious, I would train myself by creating these boxes on a sheet of paper or in my sketchpad, and I would just fill it with these lines and textures, just to train my hand and eye coordination. So by the time I am ready to draw something that I actually want to put some effort behind, my brain and hand is warmed up. You never want to jump into a serious drawing cold, because a lot can go wrong. Not warmed up, it's just like an athlete jumping on the track and doing 100 meters not warmed up. A lot can go wrong, even for an artist. And you will spot the difference when you're warmed up versus when you're cold. Okay, and so make that a habit. Do these little boxes, fill them with different lines, get warmed up. Okay, so do your zigzag lines in them. You can mix it up. They're meant to be private, they're not meant to show off. These are for your personal practice. Right, and then we have circles and loops. scribbles. Absolutely love doing these. Love doing these. And with each one you get better. I think the faster you move, the nicer they are. You can slow down as well, but I think the faster you move, the nicer they are. And you could try making more complete circles. Do not try to perfect them. This is just part of the warming up process. Do not try to perfect them. When you're actually drawing, it will just come naturally. So it's just treat it as a warm-up even though you are practicing. And then you could do a combination of all of these, including dashes, dots, your stippling, or even scribbles like scumbling, like that. Good practice habit to do. That's pretty much it for the lines that you need to know. And at some point, all of these lines are combined with each other to make shapes and objects. And that is the essence of what drawing really is. Once you could spot these combinations, these shapes, you are able to produce your drawing with great observation and detail, of course. Let me just create a new layer to go over varied line width, which is, it just refers to the thick and thin of a line to draw emphasis to where you want to be in the forefront, or just emphasis in general. So as you can see, the line is going from thick to thin. That's called varied line width. And with that, it helps to create rhythm and movement. This also has a lot of use case and application. I'm not even thinking about it, but it's beginning to look somewhat like a leaf. So practice making thick and thin lines when you're doing your practice lines drawings with your textures. That'd be a good idea. All right, so before we move on to the next video, I want to show you the type of lines that are being used for Miles right here. So on his back, obviously you can see that there's a curved line. There's another curved line by his head. So if you just draw an outline of his silhouette, you can see the combination. So here we have like a more straight angular line by his knee, a curved line here mixed with a straight line coming down, and you see the pattern here being repeated. Now it's gone back to straight lines, and there's a mixture, and that helps to create style. There's a thick and thin as well. There's some areas you're not really seeing the line because it's so thin before it goes back to being thick, that it creates this smooth illusion for the color to be, shown off much better. Okay, so in a scenario like this, we can break down a drawing by the type of lines that are being used. So in this case, where Miles is back, is obviously an arch line like a backward C shape, and then his head is like a ellipse, like a circle, and his hands are basically straight lines. And this is how you sketch, by the way. You try to break down the lines and shapes that any object or drawing is made up of, and that way it makes the process that much easier. And that's pretty much it. If you could identify these lines, you're well on your way. Of course, there's some erasing and cleaning up involved when you're sketching, but the concept is very much there in terms of the use of the lines. Alright, so I think you guys get the gist. I'll just try to add the other leg. I think you guys get the point, with a little erasing and correction, of course. I'm just doing this very quickly so you get the idea. And yeah, and you just do your cleanup as necessary. Chin, something like that. Straight line, dash, and then a straight line again. And you just fix it and correct it. You could, just edit as you go along. But Now you see how those lines are being used in combination with each other to create objects that have meaning. Okay, so in the next episode, we are going to tackle primitive shapes and combining these shapes to make objects or shapes that have more meaning.